Good morning, everybody. This is Sangeeta Saxena, editor, Aviation and Defense Universe, getting you live from the Boeing office in New Delhi. We are here with the India head Boeing, Mr. Salil Gupte. So wonderful to see him in his home turf. And Salil, welcome to ADU's chat room. How does it feel? The Indo-US deal has been signed.
Well, look, first of all, it's always lovely to be with you, Sangeeta, and with all of your viewers and readers. This is a pretty important time in the U.S.-India relationship. Of course, we saw this joint statement just come out. Thank you to my friends at AmCham for creating this handy booklet that we can have around. But bottom line is that it really expands what we think of as multifold opportunities for the U.S. and India to collaborate. If you think back to the joint statement of the President and the Prime Minister about a year ago, when Prime Minister Modi was in DC, there was lots of discussion of joint collaboration between the US and India on the industrialization of India in aviation and aerospace. And this was, I think, surprising to some people because both of those leaders are very focused on, of course, manufacturing and jobs in their own countries. And this is fine, but when it comes to working together between the US and India, they recognize there's an opportunity for a win-win in that industrial collaboration. And so we have always advocated for what we call a zero for zero environment when it comes to tariffs. This would be no tariffs on aircraft parts going to the US, and certainly no tariffs on parts or airplanes coming into India. In that environment, both countries can really thrive, both industries can really thrive here and in the US. And it's critical because of the importance of the aviation and aerospace industries to both infrastructure and national security.
And we've just come back from Wings India at Hyderabad.
Yes.
What was new which Boeing showcased there?
Well, Wings was a very interesting show for us. We were very focused on the future. Yes, of course, we were very overjoyed to announce some new orders with Air India for 30 more 737 MAXs. That was tremendous. But also, we had our Whisk air taxi there. It's an electric takeoff vertical landing vehicle. There are some that are in the market or preparing to go to the market that have done tie-ups in India, like Archer and Joby are looking at it. They're working in Dubai as well. Our product, Whisk, is very specifically electric vertical takeoff landing, but it is autonomous. So there's no pilot. And we believe that that truly represents the future of advanced air mobility in urban and other environments. And we were showcasing what that would look like, how the system operates via a virtual reality experience. And I think that really stretched people to think about how the future can change for mobility in India and around the world.
And when we talk of Boeing, we also talk of a strong relationship Boeing has had with the Indian airlines. So what new at the moment for safety, for resilience, for everything?
Well, we'll talk about it. There's a couple things there. One is just the market and the way the airlines are expanding and growing over the coming years. So we announced our current market outlook at the show, the update to it. We do this every year for the past 50 years now. It's been remarkably accurate over those 50 years in terms of forecasting aviation around the world. In India, we see 3,300 aircraft coming to the South Asia and India region over the next 20 years. The vast majority of that, 90% plus, will naturally be coming to India. It's primarily narrow-body aircraft, but there's an increasing number of wide-bodies in there as Indians fly more long-haul as well, and we want Indian Airlines to be taking them there. And that is going to require a huge investment in infrastructure, both hard infrastructure and people infrastructure. Let me just give you an example of what the people infrastructure means. You're looking at 45,000 pilots, a similar number of mechanics that will need to be developed in India to take care of those 3,000 plus airplanes. That is a massive investment. And Boeing is doing some of that, investing in training, $100 million over the last few years. We've worked with our airline customers to come up with maintenance training programs to help on the mechanics side as well. All of that is going to have to be done so that India can take those airplanes, because that's going to represent a almost quadrupling of the Indian airplane fleet between now and 2043. So that is really, really a big deal. So that's from a standpoint of expansion. In terms of safety and quality, naturally, safety is our top priority. We've had a huge quality focus over the last couple of years in terms of changing what we do in our factories and in our supply chain to make sure that we are getting better every single day. So there's basic things like simplifying work instructions in our factories with our simplifying drawings for our suppliers, ensuring that we have additional inspections at critical points, but then also trying to reduce things like what we call traveled work in our supply chain and in our factory. Traveled work is when work gets done outside of sequence, outside of the proper order of things. Everything gets done, but when you have that, the shifts create opportunities for errors that have to be corrected down the road before the airplane is inspected and given to the customer, or before the part is given from our supply chain to us. If you're able to do things in sequence with proper planning, that completely revolutionizes your ability to deliver products on time with the highest quality. And that last point I would say is also important. Our customers need more airplanes. They need them on schedule. And I think if we're able to go slow to go fast, as they say in the Navy SEALs, or slow is smooth, smooth is fast, I think is the term they use. I think that will allow us to deliver on time over the coming years as we go up in production rates.
Right, and when we talk of this, we also talk about a supply chain which Boeing has been developing in India. Can you give us an idea about how does it look like at the moment?
Absolutely. The Indian supply chain has been an interesting story of both expansion and performance for all OEMs, not just for Boeing, over the past 10 years. India has had this historical strength in engineering. And what's been really interesting over the last 10 years is to see this manufacturing strength come up at scale. And when you combine those two together, you get what we have in India, where you have India moving from basic assemblies and basic parts into complex assemblies, large-scale assemblies like the Apache fuselage, using advanced materials like composites, moving into next generation manufacturing technologies like full-scale determinant assembly, where you're drilling the holes ahead of time so that everything kind of fits together very nicely downstream in the factories. All of those kinds of things, using automation increasingly in India to drive improved quality. Most people don't think of India, where the labor cost is lower, as a market that would use automation, but people do, and we do here as well. I think all of those things have evolved to allow India to not just grow in terms of numbers of sourcing, 10,000 crores for us and growing, but also the capability and level of sourcing.
Right. And in continuation, we talk of maintenance, repair, and overhaul. And Boeing has had a great relationship with India as far as MRO is concerned. You also have your own MRO. Let's talk a little bit about the MRO activities.
Absolutely. Maintenance, repair, and overhaul is going to be such a big part of supporting the quadrupling of that fleet. And there's a few things that have been going on there. Naturally, Boeing has been partnering with Indian companies in the pursuit of self-reliance, which is, I think, what we should be doing. We've partnered with Adani Airworks, we've partnered with GMR, we've partnered with the erstwhile Air India, MRO, AIESL, and others, smaller outfits like Horizon and the like, to do a number of things in India. First is the actual airframe MRO. This is what people think of in terms of big hangar maintenance. We did this for our P-8 aircraft, which are based on 737 initially, helped develop that capability for more advanced 737s with Adani Airworks. The quality was excellent. We worked with GMR to start to get ready for the first freighter conversion line in India. They're, of course, also doing 737 and other narrow-body work there at GMR as well. So all of that has come up. We're now at the point where the vast majority of non-lease related airplane checks for the airframe is happening in India. That's big. On the component side, we work with AIESL for landing gear. That's a major component that we control. We've been working with Spirit for the components and parts of the aircraft that they have. And of course, we've recently acquired Spirit, so now that's actually Boeing. And so we're pleased to continue to do that with Spirit under the Boeing flag. And we've been encouraging our component and engine OEMs, where they control the intellectual property, to do more MRO in India as well. that will allow us to get more MRO closer to our customers. And you're starting to see some of that. Safran is setting up an engine MRO for the CFM LEAP engine, which is on our 737 MAX. I think you'll see more of that in years to come.
Right. And when we talk of things apart from actual professional work, Boeing does, it also does something very much in the human interest side of life, and any country where Boeing is. So can you just tell us a little more about this human interest activity?
Well, there's a lot of work we do on that front. I mean, we've been doing it in terms of healthcare, in terms of sanitation, with the Swachh Bharat initiative over the years. Of course, veteran skilling in general, veteran skilling, manufacturing skilling. We've invested millions of dollars in India in ensuring that our communities benefit from Boeing being there. And I think one of the biggest initiatives that we've taken on in recent years is the Sukanya program for women in aviation. This is a program, I just happen to actually have this frame here. This is a program that was launched by the Prime Minister of India a couple of years ago, and we've been taking it forward in a stepwise fashion. His request was to make India far and away the leader for women in aviation. And this is not just a diversity for diversity's sake initiative. This is because in order to have those 45,000 pilots, we have to draw from our best and brightest. And that, of course, if you go to any of the STEM classes in India, is half or maybe even more than half now women. So we need to have those women go into these STEM labs, into flight schools, and then ultimately into the flight decks of our nation's airlines. And so the Sukanya program builds a pipeline of talent. We have tens of thousands of girls going through these STEM labs that we are building across the nation. We just announced some of the first flight scholarships for flight school for the young women who are now going into that part of their career. And then we'll be doing jet bridge training to get these women into the flight decks. Right now, India is about 16% women pilots. Our goal is to get it up past a quarter by the end of the decade. And I think in support of the Prime Minister's vision, we should be able to do that.
Right. And when we continue with this, we also talk about children and small children. So at Wings, we saw an 8-year-old who really is a wizard. He knew everything about Boeing. He could tell you what is a long haul and what is a short haul. When kids are playing, in the lawns and kids are playing video games, this child is talking about aviation. So can we identify such child prodigies, and does Boeing anytime plan something for these children who really show promise at that age of 8?
Absolutely. So the STEM labs target these types of children first and foremost that I just mentioned. So that is there, and we're doing that. Beyond that, we have other initiatives like our aero modeling initiative, where we are working with children at a fairly young age and then up as they move into a little bit older, even into 10th and beyond, and then ultimately into university as well. But we're starting all along that range to get them into creating things that can fly. So initially it starts with very basic aerodynamics, but then as they get a few years older, they start to actually have these aircraft that they make that have their own propulsion and their own actuation. And our aero modeling competition that we run with many of the schools around the country has airplanes that actually have a payload, and they drop this payload into a designated area. So you get these young people that are designing potentially the cargo aircraft or even the military aircraft of tomorrow and learning all of the skills that they would need to be able to do that. That is really the vision.
Right. And when we talk of Boeing, we also talk of Boeing in space. So in India, with the privatization of space is a very huge industry in India, in the private sector. Also, we have the ISRO. What are the relationships which you have with all of them?
Well, first, Boeing, of course, has a very, very long legacy in space. If you go back to the Apollo program that originally sent humans to the moon, Boeing was a major contractor there. Boeing, of course, built and helped design and build the space shuttle, was the prime contractor there for the U.S. And Boeing plays a key role with commercial crew capsule and also the Artemis programs to send humans back to the moon here in the coming years. Now, Boeing wants to take that expertise and that legacy and partner with India wherever we can. We know this is an important priority for the Prime Minister, and he has discussed it with the President and with Boeing leadership. There's a number of things that we can support. I think what is most exciting is the focus on human space travel. And so the Gaganyaan initiatives that India has, and the ability to create technologies that will support, say, capsule design or manufacturing here in India. Anything that we can do to support, we're certainly open to doing that.
Right. And from here to the military aircraft, so P-8Is, Apaches, Chinooks, now what else?
Well, I think there's a few things. First, of course, C-17s are performing very well, as they always have.
Yeah.
The Chinooks and Apaches, we're very excited to get those aircraft onto what we call long-term sustainment agreements, which will improve their performance in the years to come. We want to make sure that those have the best mission readiness for the armed forces. P-8 has been on one of those long-term sustainment deals for years already. We expect that to continue. We delivered 6 more Apaches last year, so now there are 22 with the Air Force and 6 with the Army now for the first time. So all of that has been great. Of course, it's been widely reported that there are discussions, and I can't comment beyond that, around additional P-8s. Naturally, we want to support the needs of the Indian Navy and its cooperation with the U.S. Navy in the Indo-Pacific region. P-8s are a fantastic way to do that. But it's not just about platforms and bringing things in from the U.S. It's about building self-reliance via things like co-development and co-production. And sometimes co-development can mean large platforms. It can also mean smaller platforms that have high impact. So there's the Liquid Robotics Wave Glider, which is our autonomous maritime patrol system that floats on the surface of the water. I'll let you use your imagination what it's tracking on the surface of the water. But naturally, it fits very nicely and coordinates very nicely with our P-8 platforms. But it's solar powered, and this is a platform that the Indian Navy had procured in the past that they now want to develop here, an Indian variant specific to its use cases in the somewhat rough waters of the Indian Ocean. To me, that is a perfect example of foreign OEM and a local Indian startup partner, in this case Sagar Defense, coming together to create what is next for the Indian services in terms of technology and capability. And I think this co-development is a real good indicator of what's to come in the future.
Right. And anything we might have missed out and you would like to add? I would like you to.
Look, I would say that what is so important to us here in India is not any one thing, but it is the holistic sense that this is a market and a capability unlike any other. There are lots of there's only a few markets that are the size of India. There are lots of countries that have significant aerospace capabilities around the world that India is trying to build. But there's no other country outside the United States, in my view, that brings both of those. The great market size in both civil and defense, and the incredible capability and talent in manufacturing and engineering. Where else in the world do we have that other than, of course, our home country, the U.S., where we continue to do 80% of our work and 80% of our products are exported. So the U.S. is the cornerstone of our operations. But if there's another country that's going to partner with us, naturally, it should be India.
All right. Thank you so much, Salil. That was wonderful speaking with you. And I'm sure when we speak the next time, you'll have lots more to tell us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.